If I was learning tarot again, I would definitely do things differently. In this video, I'm going to share 5 things that will set you up to have way more fun and success with tarot. First, I'd pick a deck that I like, not necessarily one that someone would think is good for a beginner. Personally, I like the Lightseer Tarot by Chris Ann because it uses a lot of the symbolism that the Rider-Waite-Smith deck does. And the reason for that, using a Rider-Waite-Smith type deck, is because there's a lot of information online, on YouTube, on how to integrate that style of tarot into your beginner journey. But I wouldn't necessarily want to start with that deck, because here you have it. The symbolism, you may relate, you may not relate to it, right? I'm holding them all upside down. But actually, what I would recommend is to not just get a deck, to get 2 decks. I would get a Rider-Waite version, and then I would get a deck that you relate to, because then you can use the 2 in combination when you're learning, especially if you join any of my trainings, which are based on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and you'll get a little more understanding on maybe the nuances of the fun deck you want to play with that might feel a little more mysterious to understand. But if you have the Rider-Waite deck with it, it gives you a better understanding of how they can relate together. Next, I would stop obsessing about memorizing anything or trying to remember keywords, because you're just setting yourself up for just remembering things by rote. So you're not integrating it at all. You're better off taking a look at an image and understanding what you feel when you see it. Because ultimately, you are the channel that's going to be channeling the message that's meant to come through. And over time, you're going to learn that you really do integrate what the basic meanings of the cards are, but you're not forced to memorize it as if you're trying to do some kind of test. You know, take a look at this. What's happening in the scene? We have someone who is in a boat. They're holding on to their luggage. It looks like they're ready to move on to something else. And the swords, this is the 6 of Swords card, by the way. The swords in this deck are actually represented by the birds, and the birds represent the element of air, which is what this suit is all about. So you see all that in this deck as a visual is much, much different. The third and most important thing, I think, in my understanding of tarot would be to pull a card every single day. Even if I didn't understand what that card was, I'd pull it before I leave for work, and I'd study it, I'd take a look at it. It's so interesting, all these swords cards are coming up. And what I would do is I'd take a photo of this so I'd have it on my phone. I'd take a look at it, you know, while I'm commuting to work if I'm not driving. I would use this card throughout the day to just see how I can relate to it in a different way, or see how I can relate to what's going on in my work day or in my day in general, and how it relates to that. And then at the end of the day, I can reflect on it. And that brings me to step 4, which is I would start building my library of my experiences with the cards and the keywords that I get from them every time I read the cards. And this is a great segue into my tarot playbook, which is available for purchase as a digital download that helps you track and personalize your experience with tarot. It also has some spreads and a bunch of other things that you can use to help you learn tarot and also integrate your experiences with it. And then the 5th and final thing I would do if I was learning tarot for the first time is I'd really lean into the symbolism that I notice in the cards. That to me is the biggest hint of all. So when you take a look at a card, what you notice first is the clue. See, there's a lot going on in this card. What I noticed first was the bubble around her. What you noticed first might be something different, and that's the clue. That's the opening sentence in a story that pulls you in and gets you to the answer that the tarot question you're asking is going to reveal. Looking at the colors, looking at the symbols you see and what the meanings of them might be as it pertains to the question that's being asked of the tarot cards is all the biggest hint you can get to help you start to integrate tarot into your life. And symbolism really is the fun part of learning tarot. And in this month's Card Reading Masterclass, we're covering that. So if you're interested in signing up, I have a link in the description. And if you see this after that masterclass, I'm always integrating new masterclasses. If you sign up, you get access to the replays of the previous masterclasses as well. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what's the biggest takeaway you get from this video? Ask any questions you have below. I would love to know how you're integrating tarot into your life, and we'll see you in another video. Peace.